It looks like it's 6 o'clock, and I'm calling the Transportation Advisory Board meeting on Monday, December 13th, 2021 to order. So let's begin with roll call.
Sandra Stewart.
Here.
Liz Osborne.
Here.
Courtney Michelle.
Here.
David McInerney.
Here.
Steve Liner.
Here.
Joe Long.
Here.
Councilmember Yarbrough.
May I have a motion to approve our minutes from the November 8th, 2021 tab meeting?
I move to approve the minutes.
Okay, it's been moved by Courtney. Do I have a second?
I second.
Steve? And seconded by Steve. So do we have any discussion? Okay, everything's okay? Okay,
Hold on. There was one thing I pointed out to Tyler. I don't know if it's been fixed yet. Just simply the location of the underpass should be 21st Avenue instead of 1st, and that's on page 5.
Oh, okay. So with that addition, may that be reflected in the minutes? And so with that, we've been moved first, and we've had a second. And then if there are no objections with that correction, our minutes are going to be approved. I'll say, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Tyler, is there any communication from you or Phil?
Just real quick, I thought I heard the call-in user say aye. Who's on the call?
I think that's Joe.
Joe.
Joe,
Yeah,
okay.
Joe Long.
All right, thank you, Joe.
You bet.
All right, so I guess a couple items from staff. First one is, I mentioned it just before the meeting started, but Councilmember Yarborough is our new staff liaison. We do anticipate she'll be joining us here a little bit later on. So we thanks to Mayor Peck and all the service that she's given to the community on this board. And we also have a new TAB member who will be joining us next month, was appointed last Tuesday. Diane Christ, who called in at a previous meeting, and she was appointed to fill the vacancy we have there. So expect to see her on the next meeting.
Okay.
And we'll have a full board for the first time in a little while. So it'll be good to be back to full staff, and good time because we've got work plans and a lot of work to get accomplished with this board. So good time to be getting the group together so we can get chop running.
Great.
Phil's got a couple things to talk about as well.
Hey, Phil.
Yeah, good evening, members of TAB and Chair Member Stewart. Just want to let you know a few things. First of all, we are going in front of council tomorrow night, and we kind of had to move these things forward a little quicker than we had planned, but we want to be ready for 2022, and tomorrow night our last regular session with council. So what we're trying to do is take the Flex intergovernmental agreement, which is the Flex bus from Fort Collins down to Longmont, and it actually goes into Boulder from there. But we're renewing that IGA, and usually we take that to our TAB board and or TAB, it's B is board, right? But we usually take that to you, and we apologize that we did not, but we have been pushed along by some scheduling conflicts that have pushed that forward. So if you want any information about the Flex and how it works and the ridership over the years, obviously the last 2 years have not been great, but there's reasons for that. So we just wanted to let you know kind of what was going on there. So that will be going in front of council. And then tomorrow night also in front of council, which is again this was pushed by RTD, is our Ride-Free Longmont intergovernmental agreement is going forward to council tomorrow night as well. And again, something we like to usually take to the TAB, but RTD was adamant that they get this one really done before January 1st. So we worked with them, we pushed it hard, and we got it through. And so got it through our attorneys. It's both of these things are fairly administrative, quite frankly, but we do like to take them to you and just review them with you before we go to council typically. But I apologize that we were not able to. But the IGA, both things are, you know, fairly straightforward, and both things are very positive for the community. So we appreciate your support over the years for these different things, and we'll hope for your support tomorrow night, kind of in spirit, as we take them to City Council. So thanks for your time on that. Any questions?
Bill, will you be presenting information to us about how much it's costing Ride Free Longmont? We're paying RTD, and how much we're paying for the Flex Ride. I mean, I know they're both necessary. I'm just curious to know what the cost is to the city of Longmont.
Yeah, let me just do that right now and update you. Let me pull this up. So the Flex costs have gone down fairly tremendously, just because again there's that idea that we're supposed to pay these things for full service, and we weren't getting all the service that we were before. So it, let me see, I'm trying to find the old payment number, but I can't see it. But this year we are paying a total of $176,992 for that service, and that comes out of a couple different funding sources for us. So just to give you a heads up there, that's how much we pay for that service. And then that's in a partnership with, City of Boulder County. Longmont's part of that, obviously. Not Larimer County, but Berthoud, Loveland, and Fort Collins. And Fort Collins pays the lion's share of that cost. And they also try to go for some, they went for some COVID relief funding and got some of that. So we get some of that as part of that total as well. So that's been pretty good for us. And I'll try to get the original number for you. Maybe I don't know if Jim has that available, but I'll just kind of throw him under the bus a little bit here, the Flex bus this time. And then Ride Free Longmont. We typically pay, this one usually costs us about $500,000 a year. And this year, or in 2022, we're being asked to pay $224,668, so about half the price, more than half the price discount because of the lack of service and really those service hours, and RTD just providing we actually have a couple new folks at RTD who are a little bit more open to helping out the city on these. So that one's gone down quite a bit. We're pretty excited about that. So all these dollars have been budgeted in the 2022 budget.
Okay.
So just to give you a heads up there, I think those flex dollars were almost exactly what we had budgeted already. So we knew that price going into mid-year 2021. We knew that price, and so it was easy for us to budget that. The RTD dollars were kind of coming at us in late October, early November, so we didn't have a chance to get those in the budget, but luckily they were less, so that worked out. So, but we would have liked to adjust it so we're spending within our parameters of what we're spending. So those are the two things that I have. And I don't know if Ben Ortiz is on the line, but I see him. He is there. But just to give you a heads up, we're also paying for we have an IGA or an intergovernmental agreement with RTD to buy eco passes. There's Ben to buy eco passes for the city staff as well. So a couple of good things going on. It's going to be transit night tomorrow night. So all of these are on consent agenda as well. So you probably won't hear about them until the newspaper the next day if they find anything interesting. But we won't be necessarily presenting unless we're asked to do so. So that's kind of how that works. And I guess I'll see, Jim, did we have anything change on that budget item, or did you see anything that changed? I don't have
think
it.
I think we upped it, raised the numbers a little bit in accordance with whatever contracts we were running with both Flex and with RTD. So to ensure we had enough budget appropriated.
Yeah, I don't remember the Flex being a surprise, but RTD was a little different than we had.
Yeah, that was a little bit different, but we've adjusted, and I think we should have it covered for next year.
And then we do the same thing with EcoPass. So Ben, if you want to just talk a little bit about how much we spend on EcoPass for employees.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's fluctuated quite a bit from one year to the next. This year, it's about $23,000, and that's for all the regular benefited full-time and part-time employees. It does not include the police department or the fire department. Last year, I believe we spent close to $60,000. And then the year before, it fluctuated again. I think it was less the year before. So it's been fluctuating up and down. And I think the cost reduction was a result of, service reductions, similar to what's going on with Ride Free Longmont.
And how much is it typically for a month-long pass on all the different buses and?
Oh, sure. So if you wanted to get the equivalent through passes, you'd have to purchase what is called a regional and airport monthly pass. And so that would be for one employee $200 a month times 12 months. So you see the value in the Eco Pass, which will really get you unlimited service for the entire year. And so it's part of the city's effort to reduce traffic congestion, promote alternative modes, promote air quality improvements.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate it. I think that's all we have from our side of things. Oh, lots of questions.
Courtney,
I'm wondering so you said that's full-time and part-time benefited employees. Do you have a number as to how many people actually benefit from that?
Yeah, it's, I don't have the exact number, but I believe it's around 730 employees.
Oh,
And so we have to get an employee roster from the Human Resources Department and send that over to RTD, and they base the contract on that employee roster.
thank you.
Mhm.
and Liz, you had a question.
Thank you. I just wanted to express my appreciation about the Flex Ride. I've got a son graduating this week from Colorado State, and because of Flex Ride, he was able to live at home for a couple years, and it saved him a lot of money and helped him study coming and going. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that makes that possible.
It's great. Thank you.
Great, that's good to hear. Thank you. That's all from staff, I believe.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for both of the reports. All right. So we don't believe there's any public invited to be heard, correct? I don't see any call-ins, and nobody emailed Tyler, so, okay. All right, I think we're ready for our action items, so I'm gonna, we realize that we need to take some action on these action items this evening. So the first one is for the Transportation Advisory Board 2021 Annual Report, and Tyler and you and Phil are going to be giving the report to us for that.
Sure. Chair Stewart, board members, don't have a real formal presentation for this tonight, but as one of the duties of this board is to report to council on an annual basis on what did we do. And so each year we put together this short report of some of the things that we brought to the board and talked about. Also attached to this is the work plan that we will be discussing next month or next year. But there's a handful of things that we covered this year. One of the big things that this board provides a lot of very valuable input on is the capital improvement program. We have opportunities to update with both current year and then get recommendations for upcoming years for the CIP. We bring information from RTD and talk about high crashes, and there were a handful of other work items we had this year. The carbon-free transportation roadmap was very early in the year, and that was one that TAB made some recommendations that ultimately also for adoption on as well. So with that, I don't have a whole lot more to talk about unless there's anything on here that I missed or you think that we should also include in this report before it goes to council to say we did that. I did unfortunately catch a typo in the com that I'll take care of and correct. So date error in there, but I took care of that. So with that, any discussion, and we are looking for an action to recommend to council the work plan.
David.
Tyler, are the things included in the tab annual report only activities from your tab work plan for the year? Or should it include other presentations as well?
It's generally relatively brief, but I'm happy to include other information if it's.
Yeah, well, it just
not a
occurred to me
problem.
that Boulder County staff presented the State Highway 119 bikeway and greenway design to the board at our September meeting.
Okay.
You might want to add that.
Yeah.
Good catch.
I'll add that.
Any other discussion? Okay, we need to have a motion because we are approving your report, right, Tyler? So
Yes.
Liz,
I move that we approve the report.
is there a second? Courtney? Okay. Moved and seconded that the report be approved with the addition that the 119 county presentation. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay. So 5 in favor and 1 opposed. Okay, thank you. So the second one is that we need an action item on is the traffic safety fund. And Phil's going to make that presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Chair and members of the board. Just another maybe quick item here to talk about the traffic safety fund. And we wanted to bring this in front of the TAB before we go to council next year to kind of talk about renewing this idea of collecting this fee that's on moving violation tickets. And so in 2014, the city council passed an ordinance where we did $10 surcharges on certain types of moving violations. And what we found out is that people could easily plea their way out of some of those moving violations to be lesser violations. And some of the judges were more than happy to get them from paying our fee. So that was interesting. So in 2017, we went back up at the recommendation of some of the judges, quite frankly, and said, let's reduce the fee to $5 per charge, but make it on all moving violations so that you can't really, kind of get out of this too easily without a lot of work. So we did want people to pay into the traffic safety fund if they had a moving violation where they were being unsafe, right? So there's that's kind of the nexus of these two things. And so we have been collecting money, and I wanted to just kind of really quickly help understand this chart that is in the packet tonight, because it does not equate. So you can't just take the money that was the revenues and pull out what was spent and come up with that total, because there's a lot of different things. The fund balance is basically other things go into it that aren't included in the fee only collection. So and we should have, we went through it, and we should, all the fee only collections should always be some number according, should be divisible by 10 or evenly divisible by 10 or 5 after 2017. So you'll see that last one here in 2020 is 12,924 is what we collected. And so somebody was able to kind of, based on what they could pay, they scaled down all the different ones. Tyler found this one, so I appreciate Tyler's help in kind of helping find these. But there are some anomalies like that we have to go through. But we just wanted to let you know that these dollars are typically spent on. We have one employee with the city who is now currently. She went from part-time, and you've met her, Lauren Greenfield, is our traffic safety coordinator, and so she gets paid out of this fund, and she does rides with people, group rides, usually twice a week, and she's still doing it because it's been such a nice late fall here, so she's still doing them, and she does them as long as she can as the weather holds out. But she'll take people, groups on rides, and she'll kind of talk to them before they start riding about what they need to do to their bicycles to be safe, and then how to bicycle safely on our Longmont streets and on our Longmont trails. So we've done that. We've also had some training courses really more geared toward drivers. So it's called bicycle friendly driving courses. And those have been really popular, and I think people have learned a lot. And so those are kind of co-sponsored by Bicycle Colorado, and they're more than happy to come here. So we have them come in and present to, they've actually presented to our city staff. And then there was a number of times during the summer where we had classes for anybody who wanted to participate in the city. So there's citywide classes as well. So just to let you know a couple things that happened there. And then the supplies, we bought a number of bells and helmets and lights for folks who can't afford them, or, who come to these. We have these fairs throughout the summer. Of course, it was much more popular pre-COVID, but and we did have some issues in 2020, but we restarted it in 2021, where we buy helmets for the police department to give out to folks. We also buy them lights to give out to folks, and then we typically give out lights and helmets and bells too to folks at different events. So that's been really popular to get those things out to people who may not necessarily know that you're supposed to have a light on your bike, or two lights on your bike if you can. And the bells help as you're passing people, make it more safe and those kind of things. And obviously helmets, especially for children. We've seen a lot of children in the city who, their parents don't want to or can't afford the helmet. And we really try to steer people toward the idea that a helmet is like wearing a seatbelt in a car. You really should do it every time you get a chance, because your head is pretty valuable. So we want to make sure people understand that. So those are some of the things we bought over the years. We also there's also some purchases for Zagster. We funded Zagster out of this fund as well, because it was a safer way. I mean, we had bikes that were well maintained at the time and had lights and had bells, and it was like a bicycle rental program. So we felt like that was part of the safety issue of keeping people safe, was to give them a good bicycle that they could ride for fairly inexpensive amounts of it wasn't very expensive to rent these bicycles. And unfortunately that program kind of dissolved in the first part of 2020, and COVID was just kind of the last straw for that. So we couldn't keep them going for that. But again, those are some of the things. One last thing is we have funded police overtime to patrol high speed locations or places where we get high complaints. So we have in the past funded the overtime for those patrols, because when we ask the police to go to a certain location and really target, that goes kind of above and beyond what they're trying to do on a typical day. So they can do it, but they need the overtime dollars to help target a certain area. Otherwise, they just need to do their typical traffic watches and the traffic monitoring that they do. So those are just a few things that we've done with this fund. And so we feel like it's pretty valuable. Again, trying to see if I missed anything here, but we've also offset the cost of traffic safety classes at the rec center. That was kind of early on when Lauren was part-time and right now she's half-time. So we do get more of Lauren's time now than we did before, which is nice. And so those are just some of the things we're doing. And so we estimate that the traffic safety coordinator last year made contact with 400 to 500 people, just in going out to these different events and running different things and talking to people on bike rides and doing different outreach events. So we think that's pretty good. I mean, it could have been better, I think, if we weren't in the COVID atmosphere that we are, but that's kind of the way it is. And other than that, I think I've covered everything that we try to purchase with this fund. We're staying within our budget. We're staying within those fund balances. So we're proud of that. But I think there are some things that we can do better. So we'll start to look at some of those things. And we'd certainly take your recommendations if you had some ideas of how the traffic safety fund could be better used kind of more citywide. And with that, we'd ask the TAB to recommend to City Council that they consider continuing the surcharge beyond the current end date of June 30th, 2022. And so this probably won't go up to council until February or March, but we just wanted to get it in front of you early and ask for your recommendation if you have one. So thank you. And you don't need to, if you don't feel like you are comfortable with that, that's your prerogative as a board. You can say, we're not comfortable recommending this forward, and we'll just let council know that as we move it forward, because staff will be making that recommendation to City Council, but we would like to have the TAB recommendation as well, because that goes a long way, and council really appreciates this board as far as your recommendations and how you think through these different issues. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll turn it over to the chair.
Thank you, Phil. Is there any discussions? Anybody has any questions to ask Phil? Yes, Courtney.
I'm wondering about how the helmets and lights and bells get distributed, and are there any left over? Could we do more of that? Is there like a way people apply for it, or is it only at an event, or how does that work? Like, could we do more with that kind of thing?
Well,
That's
I'll just
start the making your riding safer.
Yeah, board member Michelle, that's a good point, and I think we've been hamstring strong a little bit this year, just not being able to get out to the events that we usually do. I mean, typically we would have been out at the holiday parade or the winter parade the other day, and we hand out lights just for pedestrian safety. So we give out the bike lights, but also say that they're good for pedestrian safety as well. And we just didn't want to make those contacts because we know people are sensitive to that right now. And, we have our Rhythm of the River was a really great event for us. We could give out a lot of helmets at that event with the police. And again, we've been hampered a little bit by the idea that we haven't been able to do those outreach events as much as we used to. But you're right. Quite frankly, we have a lot of lights sitting in just down the hallway from my office, quite frankly, and there's a big bag of them. We'd like to get more out. I know Lauren has actually approached people as she's riding who don't have lights and offered them lights, or if they don't have a helmet, she talks about where, come by the office and we'll get you a helmet. So we could do a better job. We do depend on the police department quite a bit to help us with that distribution, and that's been lacking a little bit just because they've lost a lot of personnel just to the great resignation, I guess, here as well. So we've lost some police folks. We've lost some of our contacts on that. So we need to reestablish that as well. So we're not doing our best job, but we'll work on it.
Is there any partnership with like Bicycle Longmont or the group that does the Wednesday night rides or anything like that?
That's a great idea. We'll reach out to those folks. We all know them personally, so we can reach out to those folks and find out if there's any desire for that. So that's a great idea.
Sometimes they do like a holiday drive and they donate bikes and fix them up and hand them out. And could they also give a helmet and a light along that,
Right.
like with what they're doing, we could donate to them.
Yeah, we just have to be very careful because there's a stipulation in the original ordinance that really is about, and I'll go back to it here. It's about no money from the surcharge can go to programs outside the city control. So we can't really, if we give them to Bicycle Longmont, there's an issue of, and this was kind of a previous council's issue is, we don't want to just give this money or these items to people and not really have control over how they get distributed. So we have to be a little careful about that. But I think if the city staff were to do it at these events, that would be fine.
Like if we knew an event that they're hosting and we go have a table or something, then and hand
right,
them.
we know when those Wednesday night rides start every time, and we know where they start from, and so it would be pretty easy for us to work a little harder and get those bells and lights out to folks. The helmets are a little different because we really are trying to get those out to children, understanding that adults might have more ability to get these helmets. I mean, we really buy the child-sized helmets first, and we buy a few adult ones, but we really try to get them on the children to get it kind of going at a younger age, so there's an expectation that you should wear a helmet.
Great, thank
And
you.
we don't want to penalize children because they can't buy them.
Right, good.
Any other questions? David?
Yes, Phil, everything you've described and all of the programs and activities that are described in those bullet lists in the update that was in our packet all seem really worthwhile to me. And I would encourage us as a board to get behind this and recommend to council that this traffic safety fund should be carried forward. What do other members of the board think about that?
I agree.
Well,
I agree.
I wanted to have the discussion and then see if someone wants to make a motion. So is there any more discussion? Okay, David, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, I move that CAB recommend that the traffic safety fund program be advanced to future years.
Phil, are you
second.
Steve seconds it. Thank you. Are you looking for another 5 years or is that what you're presenting or hoping?
Yeah, and Chair Stewart, that's something that we can discuss as well. If you think this maybe should be a 10-year or something like that. I mean, I was going to recommend 5 year just because that seems to be what the council likes to, each council, a 5 year increment kind of touches a number of councils, whereas a 10-year increment might skip a couple of councils and give them some say, I guess, as to how this moves forward. But that's a great point. I mean, we talk about, what's the point of coming every 5 years if it's just something we kind of all agree should move forward? But we'd like to hear from you on that.
Steve,
Do we foresee any changes in moving violations, amounts, and that sort of thing that would have us maybe look at this in a shorter time frame to be able to make changes as opposed to going to 5 or 10 years? Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
Well, I think we always assume that moving violations are going to go up with population, right? And with more traffic on our roads. So, but enforcement's a big issue. And so how many officers are there out there that are available to do enforcement is also another issue. So, all these
I
things.
just didn't know if we could see an increase,
just-
increase the amount by a certain, almost stepped it up. But I
Yeah.
understand that it had to go from 10 to 5 because people were getting out of it. So.
but I also understand that this is a report that could come to the TAP every year because we need to hear what's going on there.
Good idea.
As far as how many people you've touched. I mean, Lauren and Ben both, I think, work on this newsletter, and I'm sure it doesn't cost any dollars other than staff time, but it comes out and it's free and it has wonderful information for people that like to cycle or that are novice. Just things to think about that maybe you hadn't considered being a bicyclist or a pedestrian. So I think it would be good that we would find out about this, yearly, whether we're asked to, increase fees or whatever. I just think it's good information for us. As a
Board member
board.
and Chair Stewart, that's a great point to bring this every year so that we're very clear about, are we in trouble with the dollars? Are we spending more than what we have and those kind of things? Are we tracking pretty well, which I think we can say we're tracking pretty well right now. So, next year we would come before this board and give you another report and let you know if there are changes that we might need because of the fact that we're not kind of making the amount of funding we need to kind of keep this fund whole, I guess.
I
Okay.
think
Is there
that's a
any,
good idea. Yeah.
So, Steve,
just last question, is there any that you know of, maybe state matching funds that might work in conjunction with this that we might be able to leverage?
That's a great question because we could see if we have any grants that we could go after for safety dollars and then use this. I think this fund would be very appropriate to use for safety dollars from the state and be able to leverage the dollars. So we could do that for, maybe a more project specific item.
Yeah, I didn't know if Dr. Cog or if it would be CDOT level or what have you. But I would think that if we could find some, possible funds to add to this, because this is a very worthwhile program, I'd like to see it expand.
I think we'd go after state dollars with this one just because we don't want to federalize the dollars.
Right, exactly.
Federalizing the dollars, I mean,
Yep.
that makes it, we have to go for something over $1 million basically to make it worth our administrative while. So, but state dollars would be a great idea. And, typically a 20% to 50% match. And then we could see what we could do with that. That's great. Great idea.
So Liz, did you have a question? Okay, so David, you had a question, a comment?
Yes, Phil, will your staff recommendation to council be to continue the $5 surcharge for all moving violations for an additional 5 years?
Correct. We'll keep it kind of as is for another 5 years.
Okay, so
That
you're
was the
making,
original thought.
pardon me, so you're making that motion, David? That's the motion you made?
Yes, I would move that TAB supports staff's recommendation for continuation of the Traffic Safety Fund program.
Steve, did you second it? Or am I putting words in your mouth?
I will. I second that.
I don't mean to do that.
No, it's fine.
I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
you're fine.
I think you did raise your hand.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those, any more discussion? Okay,
The only thing I would like to add is,
Yes.
could we be on the recommendation to city council? Can we add something in there that we review yearly, and the addition of looking at possible matching funds through state as part of this? Do we need to add that?
is that good with everybody? David, is that good with your original motion?
Sure, I can accept that.
Okay, all right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I think everybody said aye. All right, thank you. That was a great report. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time tonight. We really appreciate your action on this.
Okay, so now we're ready for the information item, Tyler and Phil, on the 2022 proposed tab work plan.
Chair Stewart, members of the board. This one looks a lot like our previous work plan, but it has been updated, excuse me, with some new work items. Fortunately, we do have an annual program review line in here for the TSF fund, so glad to have that on the proposed work plan already. I think, again, one of the things that I stress, I think the board really is a big contributor towards the annual CIP is one of the big work items that this board weighs in on. And there's a handful of other things in here that we bring to the board each year for updates, information, action. I think one of the things we'd like to do in the upcoming year is bring staff in from Flex. I know that you've all heard from staff from RTD in the past, but I think it would be a worthwhile effort to maybe see how Flex runs and operates and thinks about transit and how that might compare to what we see from RTD. So probably a good discussion to have with the board and with Flex. And then I would encourage the board to, this is discussion, right? So next month when we bring this back, we'd be adopting the annual work plan. So definitely open to change if there's things in here that's missing. If the board wants to focus on other big work items, that please let me know. Take some time, review it. From a master planning big picture item next year, staff doesn't anticipate we'll be updating the comprehensive plan. So we'll see an update to Envision Longmont, and with that, an update to the roadway plan. So that'll be another big work item that we'll be asking the board for recommendations and feedback on as we go through that process. So definitely, again, I said, look, it looks a lot like previous years. It looks very similar, but there's definitely a lot in that, and we don't necessarily get to everything that's on the work plan either. So with that, Phil, if you have anything else you want to add.
I think that covers it. Thank you.
Are there any questions that you want to ask Tyler or Phil this evening about this? Because we will be talking about this next month. Correct, Tyler? We're going to review it next month again.
My intent is to bring it back next month as an action item, and then we'll have the full board next month, so the whole board can can weigh in on the work plan. And then you all have some time to think about it. So I guess I would ask if you have any, I don't need answers or final comments right now, but in the next couple of weeks, as you have things or think of things that you want to try to get in here, please let me know. And I'll get it updated before the next meeting.
Okay. Courtney, were you going to ask a question? No. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. All right. Well, we look forward to discussing this further next month. And if you do have any questions, or as Tyler said, any input for him, you'll shoot him an email before our next board meeting. Okay. All right. I think we're ready for comments from our board members. And Courtney, do you have any comments?
Nothing transportation related, just happy holidays, everyone, and let's look forward to 2022 and hope it's better.
Thank you. Steve? You have any
Um,
comments?
Yeah, just want to thank Phil and Tyler I know you guys work a lot of hours and to sit through this and go over the things that you and the department are working on are really, really important to get the eyes on. So I appreciate you guys' work on this. And just like Courtney said, happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you. David?
I also want to thank staff for the presentations this evening. They were very informative.
Thank you. Liz?
I'll just say ditto to what everybody else said.
Thank you. Joe?
Ditto, and everybody have a wonderful holiday.
You as well. And I agree with everybody. You've all done a great presentation, and the information you've provided is always we need to hear. And we appreciate you allowing us to give our input and take it to heart. And thank you. And I do wish everybody a happy holiday. All right. Did our new council member Yarborough, did she ever come on the phone? Have we heard from her? Gosh, we might be done before she calls in.
Does someone want to let her know we're closing up?
I can send an email for sure.
Okay. Okay. I know you guys work all the time. So if we get done early, you have an opportunity to be off for the evening. So that would be good news, would it not? Great present, right?
Have her
Okay, David.
phone number?
And Phil, when you send that email, please convey our welcome to Councilmember Yarborough.
And I'll text her right now. I have her cell phone number because I know her too. So I'll text her and just say, like, we're wrapping up. Don't worry about it.
And we look forward to meeting with her in January. Certainly. Okay. Anybody else have, is there any information or upcoming transportation related meetings that we need to know about from either one of you, Bill or Tyler? Nope.
Have any on the agenda right now?
Okay. So we'll be dealing with the 2022 work plan in January, probably along with other things. So do I have a motion for adjournment?
I move that we adjourn tonight's TAB meeting.
Okay, Steve moved. Is there a second? David?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
All right, we're done. Thank you. All right. We'll see you next
everyone.
month.
Right.
Have a great holiday. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.